friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Katey Flowers, and today we are here to do a little first impression or early impressions of the Faunabelle Tarot. Before we get into it, I want to tell you that this deck was sent to me by the creators. They reached out to me and asked if they could send me their lovely new little deck. I had a quick squiz online and I thought it seemed like something I might be interested in, so I said, yes, I'd be happy for you to send it to me. But as always, I let people know that I do not promise to share it on my channel, and if I do, I will be honest with my audience. Also, going forward, whenever I talk about decks that were sent to me by the creators or the publishers, I'm not only going to tell you in the video, but I'm also going to put in the description box, sort of like in brackets or something. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to also make that clear in the description box as well. As with all of my videos, I'm going to do my best to be as honest with you as I can be, but I also think that as a viewer, you have a right to be informed, and I'm going to make more of an effort to do that going forward by making sure it's in the description as well as in the video, just to make sure there is no confusion. Anyway, I actually asked recently over on the community tab about how you would like me to show off a new deck that I've received from a creator recently. And I have to admit, I was very surprised by the results. I mean, we hear so much about people being tired of unboxings and first impressions and flip throughs. But it seems to me that quite a lot of you like those videos. I mean, the views say that, but then this poll does too. So we're going to be doing an early impressions. I'm going to do a bit of a flip through while I talk to you about the cards. I've had this deck for 6 or 7 days, and I've just been sort of playing around with it. I haven't done any massive readings or anything. So this is not a first impressions, but it's not a review. It's an early impressions. It's just a bit of a sneak peek, a bit of a look. So firstly, this is so heckin' cute. It's a book designed for children, ages 3+, and on the back they say it's a little deck with a big heart, and I couldn't agree more. It comes in this really sweet, super sturdy box with this like pull-off top lid, it's really fun. I like it a lot. I don't think did I even say the name of the deck? It's the Faunabelle Tarot. We're talking about the Faunabelle Tarot. Oh my god. Don't quit your day job, Katey. Now we do get a nice little guidebook. It's not long, but it's got full color imagery. It's really pretty. We get a full color reproduction of each of the major arcana, like a full page, as well as a full page of the basic meanings. We get an upright and a reverse meaning. And then for the minor arcana, we get a little less information. We get a small image reproduction along with like a sentence or two for each card. But we do still get the upright and reverse meanings as well. We do have 10 small spreads in the back of the book to get us started as well. And all of them feel very appropriate for the theme of the deck and for children. And then we get a little bit of information at the back about the deck and how it came to be, as well as a little bio for each of the creators, Nicola and Juanita. So a really sweet little guidebook that I think will give you enough to get started. There is actually quite a lot of interesting resources on their website as well though. I've had a quick little browse. They've got like little videos for each of the cards. They're just sort of like 1 minute, like the card talking to you sort of thing. It's really cute. And then there's also spreads online that relate to the cards as well. So there's almost like an extended guidebook online on their website, but this is a good little start. Now for the cards, what we're all here for. The backing is so pretty. I love this foil detail. It's really simple but striking at the same time. I really like this backing. The edges sort of have this like matte copper color finish, which is really pretty. And the images are borderless, and the cards are sort of a bit more of a squat size. They're not quite a square, but more square-ish than a traditional card. I find them very comfortable to hold. Now, we all know my hate of rose petal finish stock. I think this technically is rose petal, and I do wish it was matte. Rose petal's not my favorite, but I will say that this is a lot nicer than like the rose petal finish that I've been complaining a lot about on my Children of Litha deck recently. This still has a little bit of the grip that rose petal can have, but I can still shuffle it overhand without the cards getting too clumpy together. So for me, this is usable. It's not my favorite, but it's usable. And of course, rose petal does feel lovely. It has that beautiful tactile feeling to it. And the cards themselves do feel like nice and sturdy, I think. I can get a decent riffle shuffle out of them, and I can overhand shuffle them. So I'm happy enough. Now, the major arcana are beautiful. They're so cute. Cute is a word I'm going to be using a lot in this video. It's a deck for kids. It's heckin' cute. What can you expect? It is also very much an animal deck. All of the creatures or characters featured in here are animals. I really like the major arcana. I think they're really pretty. And I think like the colors and the detail in the major arcana are it's just beautiful. It's a colorful deck without being like overly vibrant. There's a little bit of a pastel feel here, but also an earthiness to it that I really like too. And even though there's certainly a Rider-Waite-Smith influence in these cards, I think especially in the major arcana, This deck really stands on its own 2 feet. It has its own personality, and even though there is plenty of symbolism that is reminiscent of the Rider-Waite-Smith, it doesn't just feel like a clone. It doesn't just feel like cutesy animals replacing the humans in the Rider-Waite-Smith. And I like too how in the cards, none of them feel like overtly negative or positive. I think especially when you're thinking about creating a deck for kids, I think it would be easy just to turn the negative cards or the scary cards into like less negative, less scary cards. Whereas to me, I feel like they've done a really good job of sort of just capturing the feeling of the card, maybe not even the feeling, the story of the card. It feels like each card has its own story to tell. And as we know, with all fairy tales and all stories, there's the good bits and the bad bits. And I don't know, I just feel like none of the cards feel overtly or explicitly positive or negative, good or bad. It feels like there's space in each card to sort of explore the nuance of them. And I think I appreciate that. Now, the minor arcana are interesting because even though we do have representations of suits here, it's a little different. Instead of the suits just being wands, pentacles, etc., we have a different animal representing each suit. And there is a page in the guidebook that introduces the suits and the sort of story of the suits, and I'm going to read this to you because I think it's really cool. Once upon a time, there was a dog, a tortoise, a cockatiel, and 2 goldfish. Each animal came to the earth to teach humans something very special. The dog wanted to show humans how to play so they might live with more joy. The tortoise was sent to remind humans that how they spend their time is very important, so that they might live with more meaning. The cockatiel's gift was to help humans understand that their thoughts create their world, so they might live with more peace. The goldfish wanted to teach humans to listen to their emotions. This would help them love one another better. The dog, tortoise, cockatiel, and goldfish believed that each one of them would have to experience their own journey with play, values, thoughts, and feelings. Through their adventures, humans would learn joy, meaning, peace, and love by animals' example. I really like that. I think that's a very clever way of making tarot accessible to not only children, but just people who aren't familiar with like the esoteric symbolism. And I love the way that story is incorporated into this and how like the lessons and the overarching meanings of the suits are incorporated in such a seamless way here. I think it's really clever. And I think that also gives a nice frame for tarot, or at least this deck, and sort of like how and why we might come to this deck and what we're using it for. I think that just makes it very clear that the intention of this deck is to help us learn more about ourselves and our place in the world. And I think that's really sweet. And now something with the minor arcana that I'm not sure how I feel about yet, and that is that the cards are not labeled. For most of the cards, you can figure it out pretty quickly what the card is, but some of the cards are fairly similar. I think especially, for example, in like the cup suit or the goldfish suit, a lot of the cards look pretty similar. And there are these little white bubbles or balls that you can count, and then you know which number in the suit it is. But I think, at least for me, until I'm more familiar with this deck, I will be having to count those bubbles each time, or at least for a lot of the cards. I'm not saying that the cards don't make sense. The imagery doesn't make sense. Like the 3 of Cups doesn't make sense for the 3 of Cups. I think it does. Like once you know which card is which, like the imagery makes sense, but not all of them are immediately obvious if you're not super familiar with the deck specifically. I do like though that there's a very clear distinction between each suit, like not only in terms of the colors that are used, but like obviously the animal that's included. So I would have liked the names on the cards, but I can like manage it without it for the Ace to 10. Where I think I definitely would have preferred the name though is in the court cards. I think when you see the court cards side by side, you can sort of like figure out which is which if you don't have the guidebook on you. But with readings, you know, you don't see all of the cards in order. You don't see all of the court cards from each suit side by side to make that comparison. And so for me, when a court card comes up, I'm not immediately sure whether it's the page, knight, king, or queen a lot of the time. And I do have to go to the guidebook. And I do think it's cute how like the court cards are sort of in these frames, like they're picture frames hanging on a wall, almost like they belong to a family. I like that idea. But for me, I just think that putting the title down underneath the frame wouldn't have obstructed the image whatsoever. And I think would have only added to it and made it more readable and easier to use. I do like though the way that the court cards are described in the guidebook. It's almost like a little bio or profile for each of the characters in the cards. So we find out what each court card enjoys, what they're open to, what they're great at, what they struggle with, their favorite place, and what their motto is. So for example, the Page of Pentacles enjoys sticker pricing and playing store. They're open to getting their hands dirty and feet muddy. They're great at trying new things, but they struggle with procrastination, starting and stopping. Their favorite place is a plant nursery, and their motto is "From tiny seeds grow mighty trees." I think that's a really fun, creative way to sort of present the court cards, and I really like it. I do like how in the minor arcana, even though there's no like gory over the top image, I still think there's a nice range of emotional experience represented. I think this deck is clearly designed with children in mind to be safe and accessible for children, but it hasn't oversimplified it, which I appreciate. Which is one option to make tarot more accessible for children, but I think that's the lazy option, to be honest. So I like that they didn't do that, and I think because they didn't do that, because they took that time and effort to really capture the card in an authentic way, but also make it accessible for children, I think that means it's also usable for people like me who love tarot and who's a kid at heart maybe, but unfortunately I'm not a child anymore. Still struggling to accept that I'm turning 31 in a few weeks. So I know you would have seen a lot of the cards in this video, and I sort of tried to show you the cards that were relevant to what I'm talking about. But at the end of the video, after I finish talking, I'm just going to let it run for a few minutes and just flip through the deck in order so you can see all of the cards if you'd like to. So as I said at the beginning, this is a new deck to me. This is not a review. I just wanted to sort of give you some of my first thoughts and first impressions. At this stage, I'm enjoying just pulling one card, maybe two, maybe three. This feels almost like an oracle deck to me in terms of how I'm going to it. I think at the moment it's come to me at a really good time. I'm in lockdown. I'm feeling a bit tender. I'm feeling a bit sensitive. Life sucks a little bit at the moment. And even though I still want to be using my cards, I am sensitive, and I don't want to be seeing big scary stuff come up all the time. I have spoken about on my channel before about like this concept of nice washed tarot decks, and how I personally love nice washed tarot decks. And I know that this isn't just a nice washed tarot deck. The point of it is that it's applicable for children. But I think in terms of like using it as an adult, as the person that I am thinking of it in a similar way in terms of my approach to it, that it feels like just a very sweet, gentle deck that I can still go to for my tarot readings, for my daily pulls, or my little bits of encouragement for Gratty Tarot maybe. But it's not going to be the big, scary, dark stuff, you know, which is amazing when we want that and when we're up for that. But also sometimes it's just nice to have a nice little hug deck. And I think this deck is definitely a sweet little cuddle. At this stage, I honestly don't know if this is a deck that I'm going to keep long term. I think for now, I'm just going to enjoy my time with it. I'm glad that it's here in my life at the moment because I feel like this is exactly what I need right now. I need a little bit of a cuddle. I need a little pat of the back. I need a bit of encouragement. I need a bit of gentle direction, but nothing too firm. You know, like that's just where I'm at the moment. And that's okay. It's nice to have a deck that can sort of just meet me where I'm at. And I can't really speak to its appropriateness overall for children because I don't have children. I don't have children in my life. I've never had much to do with children under the age of 10, to be honest. So I don't really know much about children and their needs and all of that sort of stuff. But from what I can tell, I think this has been very thoughtfully done, and I love the emphasis on animals and like the storytelling nature of it. And I can imagine as a kid, I would have loved something like this. So I know the Kickstarter was really successful, and I know a lot of you will be getting your decks, or either you will have gotten them recently or you'll be getting them very soon. I'd love to hear how you go with it when it does arrive. And I will leave a link in the description box below to the Faunabelle website in case you're interested in this deck, but also so you can have a look at some of those other resources that I mentioned, like the additional spreads and videos and stuff that sort of expand on this deck and on the guidebook online. It's like a little multimedia project, which I think is super cool and I'd love to see more of. So I hope you've enjoyed this little early impressions video. I quite enjoyed making it actually. It's the first time I've really done something like this, I think. And for me at least, I did enjoy doing this more than I enjoy making unboxings. I think having a few days on my own to have a little bit of a play, have a little bit of a think, means that I have a few opinions to offer you. I'll be sure to keep you updated in the coming months how I get along with this deck. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this like early impressions. Thank you again to Nicola and Juanita for sending me their lovely little deck. And thank you, of course, to my patrons over on Patreon for all of your support. And especially big thank you goes to Livia, Lynette Brown, and Laurie. That's all I really have to say on the deck. If you're interested in seeing the full flip through, that will start now. Enjoy.